Alpesh, thanks so much for joining us today. I thought we would start off by maybe you just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about what you do for our community.
Sure. I've been living in Palm Beach County for just over 20 years. I'm originally from Toronto, so if you get me talking long enough, the A's and the outs and abouts will pop up. I've got over 25 years of experience in the internet business. I actually built my first website back in 95, so it's more than 25 years. Most recently, over the last decade, aside from being in the internet business, I've been very active with youth programs in the community. So anything to do with educating our youth, mentoring our youth, anything to do with leadership or entrepreneurship, you'll probably see me standing in the shadows somewhere having some fun with the kids. I was involved with Young Entrepreneurs Academy. I believe in our youth and our teachers, so that I've been involved with the Dwyer Awards, which being involved for the last 6 years, one of the blessings is I got to meet Mr. Simmons a couple of years ago. So that's been a great thing. Been also involved with Pathfinders. And so I love working with our students. And anytime there's an opportunity to raise up one of our students, connect them with an entrepreneur, a mentor, count me in. This past year, we launched a program called SeedingACCESS. And it's basically what the words mean. It's seeding as in planting a seed. Access, and what we are trying to do is help families in our community that do not have a computer and internet access. And as we work on the internet piece, last year we gave away over 100 computers, and I formally created a program where I can teach anybody, if you can boil water, I can teach you how to repurpose a working computer and invest it in a family in our community. Because, and I'm choosing investing as the right word, because when we invest in our families and our neighbors, we raise them up and we give them access to everything from basic internet to health and wealth education. And when they prosper, we prosper, because as people make more income, they pay more taxes, and it all comes back to our community again. And so, I'd like to say it's a lot like Disney's Circle of Life, but it's economics of life, if we can call it that. But that's one of the programs that we're launching forward, and we're really excited about it. And we're also working on 2 other programs for our youth that are going to be under an umbrella that we're calling Alignment. And the whole idea behind that program is going to be twofold. One is exposing our children to more career ideas, and aerospace being one of the sectors. But imagine all the jobs within the aerospace that could be from designing aircraft to working on propulsion systems to communication systems to graphic analysis, because you need to analyze the photos that are being taken in space. You know, there's all sorts of careers, but unfortunately, most of our children, when they're watching TV, are exposed to a real kind of microcosm. And so that's one initiative that we're working on. And then one in parallel is a skill set that I know every adult loves to take a course in, which is time management and goal setting. And so we're trying to figure out something that we can do, again, for our youth population, thinking middle school all through high school. And within a month or so, you'll hopefully start seeing some stuff about that. But that's what keeps me busy. I also have, when I have time, I have a 16-year-old who is an avid baseball junkie, and going to be soon in grade 10, and I believe that's called a junior. See, I'm Canadian. I'm figuring this stuff out. And I have my daughter who was off to Tallahassee for university in August. So it's kept us busy, but now I have one child off, so I think I have a little more time to play with other kids. So looking forward to it.
Let me ask you, so in regards to some of these outreach opportunities, particularly like the alignment, right? You were saying,
yes.
Something like that, you're saying you're able to teach somebody or to how to refurbish a computer to get it set up with someone, or is that something that you do on your own?
Well, actually, that program is called SeedingACCESS with the computers. Okay, that's okay. But what we're trying to do is if I'll walk you through it. If you can use a thumb drive and you can download a piece of software and run it, it actually creates a thumb drive that runs as a computer. You basically take it to the used computer that you no longer need, you plug it in. I show you how to boot off that drive, click a couple of things, go watch a couple of episodes of Friends, or as my kids would say, go watch Grey's Anatomy. Or I think Sheldon is the other hot favorite with the kids right now. Come back, it's done its thing. You just turn the computer back on, and it looks like an Android device. Remember when you turn your iPhone or Android for the first time, it asks you to add an account? That's the computer. Now, that computer is fully Chrome-based at that point. So as long as you have an internet connection and a Gmail account, or you have to create one, you've got use of that computer. But think of this. Guys, if you think of a Venn diagram, right? I wanted technology that was easy to use. Chrome worked. We figured out the licensing and everything else. It worked. But the other overlap is every student in our Palm Beach County school system has a Gmail account. So they're already working within that ecosystem. So we were able to kind of fit that in nicely. And the catch here is anybody can learn to do this. And the challenge I make is if you have a spare computer in your house, and understand, when I did this the first time, I discovered we had 6 notebooks that were sitting in the shelves because, Daddy, I need a new one. Daddy, this one's not working. And we were able to revive them. And as long as you can follow those simple instructions, like I said, almost like boiling water, you can do this. And the first thing I ask is ask a neighbor if they need a computer, okay? Then we'll go to my structure, which is talking to some of our nonprofits, okay? So to be clear, I'm a for-profit company that partners with nonprofits to add this extra layer of service that they may not do because that's not their focus, but they serve families. So an excellent example would be some of the elementary principals that I've worked with, right? They know the families that need the computer. I'm better off interfacing with them because they know the priorities. I just have them call me and say, Al, I've got a waiting list of, 3 families, or I'll let them know I've got 6 computers that are waiting. And in this process, we've helped great organizations like Path to College, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And more recently, we helped a nonprofit send over 5 laptops to St. Vincent with the volcano. A lot of the students were moved out of the public schools because they used them for shelters. And so they needed some computer assistance. I wish we would have been able to give more, but unfortunately, that's what we had in inventory, and we sent those out. Right. And so we're trying to be dynamic as we can. And really what I'm hoping to do is reach out to friends like you and make introductions to corporations. And we're kind of in between saying, hey, we can help you handle logistics, get them repurposed, partner up with a charity, and get them to our families and our community. That's and the whole process is zero fee to the end family.
That's tremendous. I know that we worked during COVID, some with a Title I school in North Carolina. And yes. The hottest thing, the most important thing they needed, because it was a very rural county, were hotspots. So even the kids that had computers, they couldn't get to the internet. And I think this pandemic really showed us the equity issues of the necessity of internet access and internet, having a computer that can access the internet. So I unpacked, you went over a lot of things that we need to break them down one by one.
Please.
Tell our audience a little bit about your Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Tell us just a little bit about that and what goes on there.
Now, Entrepreneurs Academy is an annual competition. It's currently hosted in the county, I believe, by Boca Chamber, Central Chamber, and I believe North Chamber. But North, if anybody asks, I can look into it for you. As long as you're a middle school minimum, preferably high school student, you can participate in the program. I believe it's about a 40-week program. You meet with the chamber and their mentors. You have to either have an idea or at least come up with an idea in the process. You actually go through writing a business plan with the mentors, financials, all that together, and then you do a Shark Tank style presentation to local entrepreneurs, and you may actually get some funding to try your idea out. Right. Now, the year that I did it, I believe it was Kayla Cares was a nonprofit, and
my son just graduated from Dwyer, and she actually used to come out to the school we were at for her Kayla Cares for Kids is the foundation that she does.
She took that competition to nationals and won at the national level, by the way. and I believe the other chamber had a second place student. So we have a pretty strong record with that, and that's a great program. If our students are and our audience are a little leaning towards a nonprofit strategy, there's also oh gosh, she's going to kill me. There is philanthropy tank is what I'm thinking of, and that's another organization that follows a similar model. You have an idea, you want to mature it. They get you mentors. You do another shark style competition. You get funding, but that's really I love that track, because if the idea you have is more of a nonprofit strategy, then they're going to immerse you with leaders in the community that have that experience base. And I love both, because I have my foot in kind of both places. The other area that I'm very active in is Leadership Palm Beach County. And so any of our students that are juniors in this, that are juniors in this coming year, next spring, what you want to do is talk to your principal about being nominated to participate in Leadership Palm Beach County's GROW program, which is for high school juniors. Let me get that. Yes, high school juniors.
Is it the summer after their high school year or the summer before their junior year?
Okay. So it's in their junior year, so they're going to have to apply the year before. And I apologize because I get the terminology incorrect. In their grade 10 year, and in spring, they will ask the principal to be nominated for their 11th year, which is the GROW program. And we, our intake process is real simple. We take 2 nominations from every principal. We hopefully this year we'll be back to our normal cycle of 50 students. Because of COVID this past year, we capped it at 40. But it is first come, first serve. And if you're motivated, what I would do is go to Leadership Palm Beach County, leadershippbc.org, look up the GROW program, and then write a nice letter to your principal as to why you want to do it. And if you need to speak to somebody who can give you some tips and who's been involved in the program for the last 5-6 years, you know him because he's right here. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. But it's a great program to learn about the county, all the different elements of it. I chair the business day, so we do some wonderful guest speakers. We have historically done the kickoff at the Breakers, so breakfast at the Breakers you can't beat. But we usually have some phenomenal speakers, including Mr. Leone, who is the CEO, and a handful of other great speakers that we try and bring in.
It's open to both public and private schools?
Correct.
Well, now, is the Pathfinders program separate from what you've already described? And can you tell us a little bit more about Pathfinders?
Sure. Pathfinders are for our seniors, they're the high school scholarships. And so what typically happens is you want to speak to your counselor, possibly your principal, and start that path again to get yourself nominated. There are 18 categories out there. And again, if you Google Palm Beach Post Pathfinders, you'll find it. And that's an annual scholarship. I believe there's first, second, and third place. And it's exciting for mentors. Kevin, I invite you to consider joining us for judging if not that you have time, but should you miraculously find extra time in the spring, let me know. I'll keep you busy. But Pathfinders is another great place that I like to encourage our leaders like yourselves to come and participate, because it's an opportunity to see how wonderful the future is, because these kids are amazing. B, connect with some of these students. I've had the privilege of actually connecting one of my former interviewees with an internship, because that's what it's all about, right? We connect. And that's one of the takeaways that I want our kids to understand is you have great mentors on screen right now, and reach out. Tell us what you're interested in. If you're under 18, copy mommy or daddy on the email, because I don't reply without a copy to an adult. And that's just the way I've taught my kids as well. But we're here. And you'd be surprised how many of us are open to having a conversation about a career, about an introduction, possibly even visiting a company. You just don't know until you ask. And as I remind my kids, what do you got to lose? Nothing. What do you got to lose by trying? Everything. So give it a shot.
So I think, I knew a little bit about Pathfinders when I was working in the public schools, and I know that that's open to private schools.
Yes.
It's such a great, when you really think about, there are a lot of these programs out there, but yet sometimes it's just hard even hearing about them. Is there like a main website where we can maybe list this in the bottom of the description where all of this is listed, or is it?
It's coming. And what I'm saying by that is the burden that you described is exactly what my wife and I went through. Mm-hmm. It's either you know about it because you're out there asking questions, and more often than not, if you and I were strangers, something from what I just said would end up in the conversation, because it's all about letting it, again, that operative word that we started with, access. I want our kids to have access to these things, because I can't promise you the end result, because that's going to be on merit. But I can make sure that you know to ask for the right to apply. Right. And that's really where it's at, right? From that point, if you know about the scholarship, the application, the ability to go to YEA, you need to get involved, find out about it, and then come back to us and say, hey, Al, you told me about this. I've just put an initial draft together. Would you mind taking a look at it? I've pulled away from YEA simply because of a time balance issue, but I'm happy to, facilitate, help anybody review an application before. Same thing with a scholarship application, right? Because I've judged enough to be able to point out that you better run it through the grammar check. And what I try and remember, and this is part of a lesson, I apologize, but it's worth saying, when it comes to judging, a judge is not going to disqualify you for a grammar error unless it's down to the fine line. Because if I've got 2 scholarships and I've narrowed it down to 8 kids, guess what? It's time to split hairs. And I unfortunately have disqualified a student for using the wrong adjective because he used the antonym rather than the synonym, right? And that changes the whole meaning. I knew what he intended,
right?
But everybody's there, right? Remember, kids, the Olympics, winning is 1/100th of a second. Okay? It's not twice as good. It's not 3 times as good. It's a fraction better. Run the grammar check. Have your best friend read it. Have your counselor read it. It can't hurt. And it's the same advice that I gave my daughter before. I think she had 5 or 6 different people read her essay for FSU, because we wanted to make sure that it made sense to a multiple audience. Not everybody thinks like I do, right? Not everybody thinks the way Kevin does. But if you ask 3 or 4 friends, you'll get a pretty good sense if it's going to hit where you want it to on the key points.
I want to switch now to the one that I, mistaken.
Yes, please.
Earlier, the alignment one, which is the career ideas, right? So
Correct.
You were saying that there would be a way where students who might not otherwise have access. For Kevin works with kids with these CubeSats. I get to help them prepare to speak in these engagements where they're talking about the CubeSats, but not everybody has access. So with the idea of taking aerospace as an industry, you're absolutely right. Most people just think it's one thing. They think, for me, I thought, that just means an astronaut. I had no idea until I was able to kind of go out with Kevin and the students on some of these trips to MIT, and to be able to see, oh my gosh, there's something for everyone within this industry. So how are you going to take something that is so vast and make it more more acquirable by students, say, of color and girls, and particularly girls of color, which we know is where there's kind of lacking in the STEM industry?
Absolutely. So the model I'm exploring is leveraging 2 things. One is I've amassed a mini Rolodex of really interesting leaders that are great speakers, and I know them in the sense that the most important thing in terms of the speakers that I want to put together are speakers that are there for the kids. So I'll give you an example. If Elon Musk wants to talk, I don't see anything what he does that's tied to children. You see what I'm saying? Thank you, I'll pass. But I look at what Kevin does, right? Kevin's a perfect candidate to be a speaker because he's doing it. He's connecting with the kids. He's inspiring them, and he's leaving nuggets of gold along the way. So I've kind of got that little base to start with. Then what happened with the pandemic last year is GoToMeeting became Zoom. And Zoom is now part of our vernacular, and it is a verb that we use each and every day, right? Zoom you later, right? So that has become an accepted medium of communication. So that's where I kind of looked at this and said, I've got access to the technology. I can build websites. I can do all that stuff that's in my own wheelhouse. And so what I'm doing is twofold. I'm now organizing a bunch of keynote starting speakers to buy it. I'm building out the infrastructure. With my company and SeedingACCESS, I've also decided that we need to develop online courses to teach people that have never had a computer how to access a computer. But that infrastructure, the ability to host a course, put a couple of series of videos together, put some questions beside it, gamify it, is going to be an infrastructure that we own. So I'll be able to go back to the speakers, record what they're doing. We'll do it in a live event scenario, then back it up so that it's on a website from a use many purpose, and then we'll expand it. And so even as I'm doing with the one project where I'm trying to do something here within the city and the county, my hope is to expand it. I've got some attention for repurposing computers in Chicago. Similarly, we'll do that with the alignment. We'll start with the family that we know, our students in county, my new friends that are sharing the screen with me, right? We'll see what we can do. We iterated a few times, but I'm already kind of building in the infrastructure right from ground up, saying, you know, we're going to use web technology. We're going to use Zooming. We're going to use corporate sponsors. I'm going to turn to my core contact list of speakers and say, give me a list of 5 speakers that you think are great. So we now start to build out that onion, okay? And it's going to be referral based. So I mean, I will have a public registration page asking for speakers, but I'm going to we're coming back and saying, one of the questions will be, how did you find out about us? And name somebody I might know, because I want quality to be number one. The other element that I've had an opportunity to play with a couple of iterations is speed dating, which is very popular with networking organizations where you kind of sit down and you get to know each other. So my model is really having one speaker speed date with a room full of maybe 40, 50 kids. So it's a 15-minute talk, 15-minute Q&A, and then I pop you into the next room. And so that within a Saturday morning, and my dream is right now the framework is roughly 12 sessions, one a month, one Saturday a month, to kind of build that out. And I am looking at charging a small fee to basically sponsor monthly charity, because each one of our kids needs to know how to give back to the community. And they're all aware of the big ones, right? United Way and stuff like that. And I love them. But I want them also potentially get involved with a smaller charity where their impact could be tenfold because they're doing something that the charity needs, right? Be it repurposing computers, be it, this may make you laugh, but doing an undergarment drive. You know, one of the big things that we hear with organizations that work with families and homeless is those products are in socks, right?
Yep.
Who knew, right? But this is the aha moments that I'm hoping to have with the kids by saying this month's fees are going to sponsor charity X and Y. The other part of the initial fee, and by the way, when I say fee, I'm thinking $5 a month. I'm not talking anything. If you can afford a Starbucks coffee, trust me, the $5 is not. But the other piece is to help gamify it, because Kevin, you know that if we reward our kids, it's an immediate incentive to try harder and work harder in the next project, isn't it? It's an accolade. It's a special dinner. Whatever it is, we need to reward them. So the aha moment is if you participate, you get a point. If you post social media positiveness about it, you get a point. You invite a friend, you get a point. And I got to figure out the structure of this, but the more points you get, the higher likelihood you have. And at every quarter, you know, I'm sure I can convince Best Buy or Target or Costco or somebody to donate a TV every quarter. And now we have some gamification going.
Right.
Yeah.
And this comes back to your point. We start off, but how do we get more inclusion? We get them buzzing about it. And inclusion, by the way, is something I firmly believe in. I'm also vice chair of PACE Center for Girls, which is our community school for girls at high risk. So again, talking to our students, if you have a friend that is having difficulty with home, with their school, just just difficulty and with life. PACE is a wonderful center. We have one here in Palm Beach County, and it's only a phone call to go talk to a counselor, see if that school is a fit, because we do graduate girls with their high school degrees as well. And we're celebrating 25 years serving the county, 34 years at the state level, and we've impacted over 40,000 girls to date.
Wow.
And so it's an awesome organization. And Kevin, we're hooking you up with them because I want to expose our current cycle of students to looking at the sky and not dreaming, but believing that they could be up there.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. Let's get a little bit meta. And let's say you happen to see this Alpesh guy. Where does this internal motivation, there's an enormous amount of energy and effort and creativity here. What's the source of that? Where did this come?
I've always believed in serving. And one of my happiest pictures, which I'll email you, is when I'm about 3 or 4 years old. And Indian weddings, they're so monstrous that they serve dinner on the floor. It's just the way it is. And so you can see me going person to person pouring water. And I was the eldest grandson, so one of the blessings is that when you're that young and you're the only grandchild in the family, you're the center of the universe. But I just connected a sense of aha with someone's smile. The other part of this is as I got older, I was born in India. I came when I was 5. As I got a little older, I learned the story of how my dad actually came from India. And part of it is that he wanted to come to the U.S. My grandfather couldn't afford it. We're a small village. But it was a business partner that offered to pay his flight. And so the universe came to my family's help. And so I really simply believe that our duty in this universe is to help thy neighbor. That's it. There's no fine print. There's no judging. There's no if. There's no then. It's just, that's it. Because I also believe by paying it forward, the wonderful movie years ago, it creates a domino. And somehow, some way, things will always come back. And the best, most recent example I can give you of that is my son wanted to go back and play baseball. And I can spell baseball, I can catch and I can throw, but that's about it. I cannot coach my son. And so I was perplexed about it and I was thinking about it and the phone rang. I got a call as a referral of a guy named Hector Barrios, who's a former MLB player who coaches pitching. He tells me that he attended, a close friend of his attended a talk that I gave 6 years ago on entrepreneurship and how to take your product to market. So Hector called me out of the blue and said, I need your help. And I said, look, I'm not doing this anymore, but I'll make an exception because you can teach me how to teach my son, or better yet, teach him. That one phone call, my son now has 4 MLB players that are coaching him. So the universe is funny. And that's what I want to share. The most important takeaway from here is really just do something for somebody. Don't worry about how big or small it is. Just do something. Do anything. And more importantly, do it to a point where they smile, because that smile will come back at you in folds. And just do it as an experiment. And, you know, it's infectious. And, you know, I left the internet business a year ago because I just didn't feel like getting up and doing that work anymore. It wasn't soul fulfilling. And what I did is I kind of looked back and said, what makes me happy? And it dawned on me that it was like working with friends like Kevin, that's you. I had no other Kevins too, but this time it's you. Working with passionate people that love what they're doing, but it's not for them. It's for someone else. It's for the students. When I thought about how I feel on that business day when I'm talking to our Grow Kids and launching the day, or I spend, 8-9 hours interview after interview with Pathfinders or Dwyer, how do I feel at the end of the day? Drained physically, but emotionally on fire, like the Energizer Bunny. And that kicks any watermelon sugar high that the song talks about. This is a whole different experience. And I just thank myself that I'm having an opportunity to do it and connecting with friends like you guys.
Right. I appreciate that. You know, normally our last question is always, what piece of advice would you give? But I'm pretty sure the or the challenge to serve others is, I don't think we should touch that. I think that's ideal. But I will tell you this, what we can do is on our vodcast is we can make available all of the organizations and their sites that you mentioned.
I can do that on the podcast too, under the description
Very
link.
good.
So
I'll email you a bunch of links if that's okay.
That would be fantastic. That would be super helpful to me. I know that he said that we normally end with that route, but I want to just end on this point. So if there's out there listening, or a parent who knows somebody who can fit in any of these categories that you talked about today, should they, I know that you're working on a website where all of this will be, but what's the best way for them? Should they just reach out to us and then we'll refer them to you? Or if they know?
I'm more than happy to, my full name is Alpesh, Alpesh M, Patel, Patel. And if you do alpeshmpatel.com, it actually is a landing page on my website with my mini bio. My V card is there, and all my social media is there, including LinkedIn. So whatever method, email, that way. Do please tell me that it's part of this journey with aerospace camp. Do I remember correctly?
Aerospace Innovation Academy. Yeah.
I apologize. Okay. It's summertime. I got camp on my mind. Aerospace Academy or Kevin. And just mention that, because it's part of the journey I always do is I'm always keeping track of how we connected, because after a certain number of connections, I got to take Kevin out for an ice cream. So I got to keep track of that. But this is it. I mean, this is what it's about. It's my process, if I may, for a minute, that I share with everybody is, and it's on the website, is step one is connecting, which is what we're doing. Step two is collaborating. And what I mean by collaborating is we pick a small project and we try and kind of iterate through it, right? Could be SeedingACCESS. Kevin and I have two things that we're going to hopefully work on. One is getting the aerospace message over to Pace Center for Girls. And I'm also going to be hooking him up with a student who is going to Lynn for aerospace, who has just graduated out of the program with Path to College. Okay, so those are our two little projects. And then if it works, we try and keep doing the collaboration, and we get to harmonization, which is all about scale. So again, as I described, if we do this speaker series, we're going to do a collaboration. We're going to do a kind of local thing. We get the model down, then we start to reiterate it, and then we harmonize it so it starts to affect a larger crowd. And what I'm really excited about, and this is my final lesson of the day, is what the internet and what Zoom did for me this last year is I can create something that's going to cost me something for the first time, okay? But every time someone uses it, the cost of using it gets closer to zero, right? And that's only because of internet technology, right? It took us time to record this, right? But now it's recorded. You're going to put it up on YouTube, on your vlog, and every person who comes to watch it doesn't really cost us anything. Right. But the value is still there. Right. And that's the other thing I want our kids to really start to connect about is, what can we create in this universe that doesn't constantly require assets or trees to be burned, right? One of the great things with Kindle and with podcasts and vlogs and stuff is we can now share an idea, and the cost of sharing is approaching zero. And that's one of the other reasons that I'm building the course infrastructure, is to be able to come to educators and mentors like you and say, hey, we've got an infrastructure and we're funding it internally. And the mandate is not, I mean, is if you can afford to pay, make a donation. If you can't, don't worry about it, but go through the program, learn about a new career you didn't know about before.
Right.
Well, if you do that, we won.
I can tell you this, when Shauna organizes our next TED Talks, you're going to be one of our invited speakers. So get your TED Talk ready.
Before that, we have a teacher workshop coming up that I think I'm going to be talking with you about after we're done with this session.
I'm sorry. Yeah. There we go.
I'll tell you about that, because I would like for the teachers who are coming to know what's available to them in this community. So unless you have any other questions.
No, we really enjoyed having you with us today. This is hopefully many conversations that we'll be able to share.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. And you know, maybe one of the things that we'd look forward to in the future is maybe we'll do a live upgrade of one of these computers.
That would be fantastic.
That would be.
Right?
And then
You could do it, I could do it, and we're watching Sheldon because it's got to be aerospace themed, so we can watch Sheldon, right?
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.